Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Our guest this week is longtime actor Billy Merasty. Originally from Brochet in northern Manitoba, Merasty comes from a distinguished line of First Nations artists, including the late dancer Renee Highway and writer Thompson Highway. For nearly 40 years, he has appeared on stage and on screen in dozens of roles. Many viewers may be familiar for his role as Roger Laughingstick on the comedy series Acting Good. He also recently starred in the drama film Aberdeen, about a woman rising through the hardships to save her grandchildren and herself. Merasty was nominated for an ACTRA award for his work in the role. Billy, thanks so much for being here. Absolute pleasure to get to meet you and have you here in studio with us.
Thank you, likewise.
It's been a busy month for you. You're in Winnipeg to start shooting season 4 of the hit comedy series Acting Good, and you scored an ACTRA award nomination for your work in the film Aberdeen for the inaugural Outstanding Performance Non-Binary Gender Non-Conforming at the 23rd ACTRA Awards coming up in Toronto. How does it all feel?
It feels great, actually. I've been toiling away 42 years in the business, starting off in theater and then gradually moving into film and TV, as well as audiobooks. But 42 years in the business, and this recent award I've just been nominated for has been my biggest award that I've been nominated for. Other than the, I'm very proud of holding the, I've received the Order of the Buffalo Hunt, which is the Order of Manitoba. So that's actually pretty precious to me as well.
Yeah, that is a pretty big deal. The highest honor you can get in this province, so
yes.
Congrats on that. As I mentioned to you, I finally got to watch Aberdeen yesterday. We interviewed Ava Thomas and Ryan Cooper last year about the film, and was super excited right from that first trailer, especially since it stars you and Gail Maurice. How would you describe the film?
It's about Indigenous Winnipeg. Basically, it's an Indigenous story. And the premise is actually pretty simple. A Native woman loses her ID, her status card. And so the premise of the film is her trying to retrieve her status card and also to try and get a new one. And she just is given a runaround. You know, go to this address and go to this other address. The whole movie is her chasing after information to try and replace her status card. It's quite simple, but you get to meet people of Winnipeg, with basically people on the street, and also all sorts of colorful characters. My character was definitely very two-spirited, and thanks to Ryan and thanks to Ryan Cooper and Ava Thomas, the co-producers, co-writers of the movie, they just offered me the role, and it turned out really great. So I'm very pleased that that the movie's out there.
What was it like for you to be able to play Alfred, for which you have now been nominated for that ACTRA award?
Well, it was kind of scary for me because it's rare that I do drag. I don't mind drag, but this one is a character that lives as a woman, in women's clothes, and I appreciated the character because I used to live in Winnipeg a lot in the 1980s and the 1990s, and back then life was very difficult and different for people who were different, two-spirited, whether they were gay men or men living in the way of women, which is traditional in our many Indigenous cultures. So I got to meet the family of the street in Winnipeg in the 1980s and 90s, and a lot of them were guys who were very androgynous. They looked more female than they did male, and so they lived that lifestyle. But being Winnipeg, it was really rough, really rough. But we sort of stuck together. The gay men, the guy guys in drag, two-spirited men, women. We stuck together, we were family, and that's what basically saved me here in Winnipeg. That family took good care of me here in Winnipeg. So it's nice to say thank you to the community that took care of me in this manner, this film, doing this particular character, which is quite outrageous, but I loved her.
How important was it, do you think, to have that lived experience to bring into the role?
As an actor, it's very important to have many lived experiences. I jumped into native theater when I was 24. I left northern Manitoba when I was 18, shortly after finishing high school. Toiled a bit here, went to Toronto, because I have two uncles there. My mother's baby brothers were there. And then my ultimate destination was New York City, Greenwich Village. I ended up meeting Indigenous people everywhere I went. We sort of just gravitate towards each other. And in New York, the American natives were actually pretty audacious and very strong, not docile at all. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to get to know Indigenous Americans in New York City. And New York is just huge and fabulous. I loved it.
Aberdeen can be a bit of a hard watch as it deals with things like addiction and the child welfare system, racism, but can also be pretty funny. I don't think anybody on this planet says "Hole" like Billy Merasty does. Has the film received the reaction from viewers that you were hoping for?
Everybody that have seen it have said really good things about it. It's really well done. And everybody in it, one cameo after another, really good performances all the way through. And of course, the lead actress, Gail Maurice, delivered a tour de force performance, just at the top of her game. I'm surprised she wasn't nominated this year, because she deserved, that performance she gave deserved a nomination. But hopefully maybe next one. I'm glad that I got nominated, but the lead actress did all the work, most of the work, right? So she deserved a nomination as well.
I had a memory pop up the other day because we're going to talk about acting good, but when the crew or cast was nominated for ensemble, and I had wrote on Facebook that day, give Billy Merasty all the awards, because you're just so great in that show. But getting ahead of ourselves here a bit, I wanted to talk about this quote of yours that I read from the 90s, where you talked about people telling you back then to not be so gay if you wanted to be an actor. Did that impact your career?
It did, but I didn't listen. And also, that's very limiting. And as an actor, you shouldn't allow yourself to be limited by people's small window of acceptance. And you should also challenge yourself to do roles that you would normally think of doing. But part of my confidence comes from years and decades of working in theater, live theater. I was really shy when I first came out of northern Manitoba, really, really shy. But when I fell in love with the theater, I realized that I couldn't be shy. And that's basically when I stopped being afraid of people. And because when you go on stage, you face the people who are sitting right in front of you. And as far as being Indigenous here in Canada, Manitoba, it's my most powerful spot. It's the place where I feel I'm at my most powerful, especially when you have a good role and you're living the moment, and the audience is giving back their attention, and you give it right back, and this energy starts happening, and it's a very powerful space to be in a good role, in a good play, with good people. Yeah. So my confidence comes from the theater, where you have to face people, just like being on the streets. Most people are really afraid of other people, but people are people. Yep. And yes, you do have to be careful, watch your back, but people are people.
Right.
Everybody deserves attention.
We kind of mentioned it. You can really feel the city of Winnipeg and Aberdeen, the locations and everything. The cameos you mentioned, Jem Podemski, Darla Contois, both previous guests on the show here. And many actors, even in the smaller roles in Aberdeen, they pop up, on Acting Good or don't even. Is it a pretty tight-knit community of actors here in Manitoba?
It seems to be. I've gotten to know them since I started working with Acting Good. I hadn't been to Manitoba, Winnipeg, 10 years prior to me starting Acting Good.
Oh, well.
So I was a bit paranoid coming in, only to realize that things have changed for the better. And the Indigenous community here is so dynamic, so powerful. And when they set their minds to do something, they actually get it done. And the Indigenous growth in the arts is amazing here. And I consider Winnipeg the center of Indigenous filmmaking, because it's huge.
Yeah. Not
only TV series, but there's movies being done here. And I used to live here back and forth, so it was a total thrill coming back to Winnipeg when I got hired to just come and work in a city that I've always had a hard time surviving in, Winnipeg. But Indigenous Winnipeg is what saved me, gave me back my career, invited me to come in to do this TV series and movies. So it's really interesting that I came back to my own home province to get even more famous.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks,
love Manitoba.
I love it too. I encourage anybody to get out there, watch Aberdeen, and Billy, all the best with the nomination. A whole lot more here to talk about with Billy Merasty. We just need to step aside for a quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face. Stick around. Welcome back to Face to Face. We're lucky to have as our guest this week longtime actor Billy Merasty. And as we mentioned, the comedy series Acting Good is about to start shooting season 4, which is super exciting. I've not watched the final episode of season 3 because I don't want it to end. So sooner or later I'm going to have to. But you play Roger Laughingstick, the voice of the Res Grouse Lake. What has that character meant for you?
Well, huge rejuvenation in my career, and being invited to enter the Indigenous world here in Winnipeg. It's done quite a bit for me. Fame is really interesting, because I've been in this business for so long. There are some projects that hit the audience, hit people really deeply, and they show their appreciation by waving at you or saying hello. Or I remember this one guy, I'm walking down the street in Toronto, and he's coming in on a motorized skateboard, and he recognizes me from across the street, and as he's going by, he's yelling, "Roger!" So moments like that are wonderful, because people show you and appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we all want to be appreciated, and especially, and also to do well in our chosen careers and professions. So to me, I'm at my happy place, because when you have something live that's showing, that TV series is very popular. Even all kinds of people seem to watch it. I was crossing the street one time, and this truck was going by, and I stopped. The truck stopped, and I gestured for the truck to go. And as this truck goes by, this elderly Chinese woman was in the driver's seat, and as she turned to look at me, and she goes, "Hey, you actor?" She goes, right? And I said yes, and she waved, but her face just lit up. So all kinds of people are watching it, not just Indigenous people, just white people, black people, the whole color spectrum of humanity.
The show's been a real big hit. Everybody's watching it, but what do you think a show hit of this size means for Indigenous peoples?
It's, well, it means success. It means success for Indigenous people, and success comes from, good art, good energy being put in projects, and then people who see it appreciate it. And I think that's what success is, when people really appreciate shows that you do. And I've never experienced this in this huge arena ever before. APTN is very popular. People see shows, and I'm glad that it eventually moves into APTN, because it's CTV, the comedy channel, Bell Media, who are the #1 producers, put the most money into the show, which is why we air on CTV Comedy Channel first, and then Crave TV, and eventually on APTN, because they're also part sponsors.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe the season 3 hasn't fully aired on APTN. I always watch it as soon as it comes out, but if you haven't, I'm sure it's on right now. The show and the character Roger, though, seems to be really evolving, and maybe that's because of the success. There was a lot more Anishinaabe spoken in season 3, and Roger takes on a new title as well in the episode Secret Lies and Meatballs, which is a great episode. You and Chickadee in that one. Does Roger's evolving character, though, hit home for you?
Oh, yes. And I think it's evolving even further. We were talking about, well, I always get this question, what's Roger's sexuality? None of your business. But that question always remains. What's his sexuality and all that? When we first got started, I had a conversation with Tina Keeper, and she said, we're in the writer's room, and we're wondering, what is Roger's sexuality? And I basically said, let's not answer that right away. We don't need to answer it right away. This season, we are.
In the upcoming season?
We are.
Okay. Yeah, that was that episode was really the first time that ever dawned on me too, as the character Chickadee's kind of going through her own transformation there as well.
I'm glad that they're tackling that issue, because it's such an important issue. I mean, it divides families. So to have a show like that that features two-spirited characters, I think that can only bring the Indigenous community together. And we all need that a lot more now than we used to.
Yeah. Like I said, we're all excited for season 4 here. What are your hopes for the future of the show?
I hope it continues for several more years, because there's a lot of issues to explore in a comedic sort of way. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so popular, because Indigenous issues can be very serious, and it can turn off a lot of people, because I don't want to hear about that. It's too heavy. It takes away from my joy, even though we have no choice but to live it as Indigenous people here. So I think it's great that we have a show that is comedic and addresses issues through the sense of humor, because sense of humor is so very important in the Indigenous community. And it can only grow, and I'm glad that they've featured on 2 individuals that will be coming out even more, and making that as part of our family. It is our family. We are part of all Indigenous families. And I think we at least have one in every family who's gay or lesbian or two-spirited or non-binary, etc.
Yeah. Billy, much more to talk about here still. We're just going to step aside for one last quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week, as you just saw there, is actor Billy Merasty. Billy, 40 plus years in the business, so many shows and movies. Any of those really stick out for you?
Yes. I like theater because you can't hide from people. And that's such a great challenge to overcome. But my favorite, one of the biggest Indigenous stories that I was involved in as an actor was Justice Denied, the Donald Marshall story. The Mi'kmaq man who got incarcerated for a crime he never committed, but it took 11 years of him to be in prison for the truth to come out, and it came out accidentally. So, and he got released. And that movie is very special because that man who it's about, Donald Marshall Jr., the late Donald Marshall Jr., changed Indigenous law, how Canadian law is responsible for Indigenous people, and it changed it by giving a lot more rights for Indigenous people. So it's a very important story. The other story that I was involved in that I really liked was Elijah, where I played Elijah Harper.
Yep.
And I had met him previously several times, and he was a sweet man. He just welcomed me into his family. And when we shot here, I actually broke down and cried when I auditioned for it, and my agent sat me down and said, "You got the role," and I cried because I had met him several times over the course of time, and the role he played in having Indigenous people recognized here in the Manitoba Legislative Building, kudos for him for saying no. But I got to meet him, and he was a very special man, very accessible. And each time we crossed, he would take me out to dinner, and also he would tell me personal stories about his family. He had a two-spirited daughter who ended up committing suicide. So he expressed how he felt to me about losing his daughter. You know, so he was that kind of man, very special, very accessible, and not afraid to be human with anyone and everyone. He was an incredible man, and I was very honored to play him. And he stuck around, so I got to watch how he moved, how he talked, and try to bring that into the role.
It's a great role, great movie. I think I am of the age where the first time I remember seeing you was when you would appear on the Red Green Show, because back then to see an Indigenous person on TV was like north of 60, and it was a drama, right? Not comedy. And so it's great to see you back on here on TV so often again. Just wondering, like, how do you feel that the industry's changed in those 4 decades when it comes to representation?
Oh, it's changed a lot. I mean, even just being nominated for this new inaugural category, the non-binary, non-conforming, non-gender conforming, that's change. Recognizing people who are not straight, and who have as much right to contribute to the whole of our family as anybody else. So there's those changes, but also success stories inspire Indigenous youth, Indigenous people to go into the business, and I can only encourage the youth to get involved. And it's something that you need to stick to. If you fall in love with it, with the profession, with the business, the acting, that should be enough to overcome all the animosities that you might come across. I certainly have. But I come from a big family as well, and a family that supported me. So I was very lucky that I was loved by my family, by my parents, and they got a big thrill whenever they saw me on TV. They would call me and just express their happiness. So I think we just need to get better, even though we're good, but we all need to get better, not only in our chosen professions, but as human beings as well. And as far as I'm concerned, my Indigenous family has gotten really huge. And now it's gotten beyond the borders. Like the show is it's going to air on the in Australia, on the Aboriginal Television Network.
Yeah, nice.
kudos. I would love to visit that part of the world, and also to meet some Aborigines.
Maybe you'll have a red carpet over there.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yes.
Billy, could sit here and talk with you all afternoon, but I think you ended the show pretty good there, and we're already over time anyways, but absolute pleasure to have you here with us, and good luck with the award. It'll be happening before the episode airs here, but
Thank you for inviting me, Dennis.
Thanks so much. And that is all the time we have for this week and for season 11 of the show. Thanks to all our guests and viewers and the crew, and a special shout out to the wizard, Wilfred Moore. You can catch up on any episodes you may have missed by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. We will see you back here in October.